Today's episode is all about summer tea knitting patterns on and off my needles, as well as some summer yarns that you've probably never heard of and will love. Plus, I will share with you some bags that I have made and will tell you how to make them too. Hello, my knitting friends. Welcome back. My name is Christy of Christy Archer Designs, and I am coming to you from Southern California, where I share my passion of all things knitting and occasionally some other things that I get into as well. So if you enjoy this type of content, I would love to have you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Be sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a stitch. So let's get started. Oh my goodness, I am so excited to be back. I have been out of town for a month visiting with my mother, and so it has been a while since I've done a podcast, and I have a lot to go over. So we are going to jump right in, and I am going to start with what I'm wearing. And this is actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'm going to try to stand up. This is a top. Okay, this is a top that I self-drafted last year, I believe it was. And I made quite a few of them. This is made out of an organic cotton. And this material is divine. I do not remember what it is, the brand off the top of my head. If you're interested in it, let me know, and I can look it up and find out what the fabric is. But yeah, self-drafted pattern, and it is such an easy top to wear. I thoroughly enjoy it. I can also, if you are interested, point you in the direction to a pattern that's very similar, and so you can make yourself some. They are super easy to make. So that is what I'm wearing today, and we are going to get right into FOs because I do have a few. And you're going to see a running theme with today's pattern, with today's FOs. For those of you that do not know, I live in the desert in Southern California, and it is very hot here. We are breaking 110s already. And I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. Celsius. I should know that, but I don't, and that's okay. But anyway, it is extraordinarily hot here in the desert right now. I think we are in for an extremely hot summer. We have excessive heat warnings going off on our, I won't say her name because she will go off, but anyway, every single morning when we wake up. So with that, I am definitely making a lot of summer patterns, and I have this nice stack right here that I am excited to go over with you. So the last time I podcast, I was showing you the Anchor Tee by Petite Knit, and I was knitting it up in Knitting for Olive Merino in the colorway Ice Blue. And I did make modifications, but not anything that's like excessive. If you followed the pattern, you would get the same results. I did not do an Italian cast on. I just find with this smaller yarn, it's just kind of pointless and it's a lot of work. If I were doing something more like a DK or maybe even a sport, but you do have to do some extensive blocking to this, and so consequently, I just did a regular long tail cast on. I did knit it the entire thing in 2.5 millimeter. I have my notes. No, sorry, 3 millimeter needles, US 2.5. And in the pattern, it has you start off with the larger needles for the yoke and then the smaller needles for the stockinette. I just did the entire thing with 3mm needles, US 2.5. And I am obsessed, as you will see, with the end result. I did make a few modifications. My gauge is tighter than what the pattern calls for. And so I knit the size medium, aiming for a size small finished garment. And I did get a 36-inch chest, which is exactly what I was going for. That is my favorite fit for my body. The finished length for the size small is 20.5 inches from the neck to the hem. And I did 20 inches, so it's a little bit shorter. The finished sleeve length is a little shorter as well. I finished mine at 3.5 inches, and I believe the pattern calls for 4 inches. And I used 4 skeins and have about a half a skein left over. And I actually shot this podcast a few days ago and had technical issues, so I'm reshooting it, and I went ahead and put all of the yarns away for the patterns. So I hate to do this, but give me just a moment, and I'm gonna grab all of those yarns because I didn't grab them before I set up. Hold on, I am truly sorry about that. I tried so hard to be ultra prepared, and I was when I shot the other day, but again, had technical issues. Okay, so knitting for Olive, Merino colorway, let's see, ice blue, and I do love this color, and I really love this yarn. I have used Santa's Garn, what is it? I can't remember. I'll pop the name up here. I was not happy with the twist that was on it. It kept giving me very uneven stitches for the same weight, which this is a light fingering and the Santa's Garn is a light fingering too. I much prefer the Knitting for Olive. Plus, I really like what Knitting for Olive stands for. They do not do any mulesing to their merino sheep. They buy their wool from farms that does not do mulesing, which is important to me. I feel like their ethics coincide with mine. So I'm really, really, really happy with Knitting for Olive. Okay, so that is, and I'm sorry it got wrinkled laying in my lap, but anyway, this is my Knitting for Olive Anchor Tee, and I love it. All right, next up off my needles is the one that I finished second. I really, really, really love a lot about this one. Okay, this is the my Anchor Tee in green, and this is Holst Garn Coast Yarn, which is even thinner than Knitting for Olive Merino or Cotton Merino or their silk. Their fingering, this is even thinner than that. So I did make a few additional modifications. Oh, I forgot to mention, on all of these, I do my raglan after you work your round yoke. You will split for, or you'll separate for raglan stitches, and I do my raglan different than called for in the pattern. If I remember correctly, she has 2 stitch markers per raglan, and so in other words, you have a single column of stitches with your increases on either side of that stitch. I used 1 stitch marker and have 2 stitches with my increases on either side. And then for my increase stitch, I do a yarn over. The one before the marker, I do a reverse yarn over, and then the one after the stitch marker, I do a regular yarn over, and then on the following row, I will work those in the back loop. And so it ends up giving you the same effect as a make one right and make one left, but what it doesn't do is, and I don't know if you can see, but if you've ever noticed how your column of stitches, you'll have a super tight one and then a one that hasn't been pulled tight. You don't get that with doing the yarn overs because it's not pulling those stitches on either side of the marker. So you get a nice even column of stitches. So I prefer doing my raglans that way. I also like doing the lifted increases, but here lately I have been doing a lot of yarn over increases and then just working them in the back loop, or you know, on the next row, working them in the back loop to close it up. And I am so sorry, my nose is running. Okay, I didn't give details on this one. Okay, my green tee, I did a size medium once again, but because my gauge is even tighter on this one, what I did was did additional raglan increases to, first of all, my row gauge is even tighter. So in order to get proper length and to get better width, that's what I did on this. So this one actually finished at 35-inch chest, and I really love the fit of this one. It finished with 19 inches. It was a little bit shorter. I don't mind the length on this. I don't mind the length on my 20 inches either, but I do have a shorter torso than normal and longer legs as far as proportions are concerned. So yeah, I did do this one at 19 instead of 20 inches in length. The sleeves are once again 3.5 inches from the underarm to the cuff. And again, I used Holst Garn. And this is the base Coast, and this is colorway Meadow. For this, I used 3 skeins and have the majority of 1 skein left over. I may have used a quarter of this skein, so 2 1/4 skeins to get the size that I made. I think I said this, but on the first one I used 4 skeins and have about half a skein left over, so about 3.5 with the Knitting for Olive. Okay. All right, my next finished object, and I'm doing these garments and then I'm going to do the bags after, but the bags were sprinkled in between all of this. Okay, it's another anchor tee. Kind of got obsessed with this pattern. I can see, well, I've already worn these a lot. And I did want to show that I have worn this a lot, and I purposely did not do any gleaning or de-pilling, and look at how good. I mean, there's a little bit, but you have to understand I've worn this a lot since I finished. So highly recommend the Knitting for Olive Merino. Highly recommend the Holst Garn Coast. Again, practically no pilling. There's a hair. Love the weight of this. Love the way it hangs. Love I love everything about this yarn. It does take a long time to make this because the stitches are so tiny. I think my gauge on this is like 30 or 32 stitches per 4 inches. I'll have to go back and measure it. So it takes a long time, but to me, to get a garment that I know I'm going to wear for years to come, it's worth it to me. And I will be making more out of the Holst garn because I have more of that. Okay, so on to the next one. Again, and it got wrinkled laying in my lap. I've had these, they shouldn't be wrinkled. Okay, this is once again size medium. It finished at a 36-inch chest because my gauge is tighter. It finished at 20 inches long. This one I did go longer with the sleeves just to try it out. I don't hate it, I don't love it. It's just a different sleeve length. This one I did at 4 1/4 versus what the pattern calls for 4 inches. So it is a little bit longer. This is done out of Knitting for Olive cotton merino. And I adore working with this yarn. Do have one little issue with it, and I will show you in just a moment. But this one is out of colorway Koala. And I have less of this left over because I did go longer with the sleeves. I've got my yarn band tied up around it, or taped up around it, but the color name is Koala. And oh my goodness, do I love working with this yarn. The cotton merino, amazing. Okay, once again, US 2.5 on all of these. My only issue with this yarn is I did struggle with keeping tension, and I'm going to see if you can see there is variations in the consistency on the tension with the cotton merino. I think I just need to be a little more aware of that. And I am making another one, which I'll show in a minute, and I'm trying to be a lot more, once I get, I don't have any problems with the 1x1 ribbing. It's when I get to the stockinette. So I'm definitely going to be a lot more aware of my tension when I do that. So FO number 3, 2 more tops to go. FO number 4, yes, it is another anchor tee. This is the last one for right now. I'm just obsessed with this. All the same thing, size medium, 36-inch chest, 20 inches long, sleeve, I did go back to 3 inches on this one, 4 skeins, and this is what I have left over. And this one is cotton merino as well, and the colorway is oatmeal. And I haven't even gotten to wear this one yet because I did recently finish this. I finished it while I was still at my mother's and didn't have a way of blocking it. And so I got home, blocked it, was waiting to do the podcast. And so yeah, love, 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 love. And as you can see, the tension, once again, isn't perfect. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I didn't have this issue with the merino. So I think it's just the cotton in it, and me just, because it's just mindless stockinette, I'm just watching TV and knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting. So I'm trying a couple of things out to see if I can improve my tension. But yeah, that is my newest obsession, if you can't tell. Okay, enough with the anchor tees. Oh, and be aware if you go looking, and I will link it below, but there are quite a few different anchor patterns. There's anchors, there's an anchors tee, and that one is a larger gauge. The finer gauge is anchor tee without the S on the end of it. So just be aware. And if you want the larger gauge, I have that one as well. So, you know, if you are happier using a larger gauge, they have that, she has that available as well. Okay, I'm doing pretty good on my timing. I guess because I've already done all of this once, so kind of smooth sailing for me second time. And I am sorry, guys, my hair is at that in-between stage where it won't stay behind, but it's too long to, I mean, it's too short to come forward, so it's just at that in-between stage. And I live with it in a ponytail 90% of the time. You don't care about that though. Okay, my next t-shirt. Oh, I cannot wait to wear this. Again, I finished this while I was at my mother's and could not block it until I got home. This one looks so good on. I am obsessed. Okay, this is actually one of my patterns, and it is the Party of 8, and it is normally done in stripes, but I wanted to do a solid. And one thing you will notice that I'm going to be doing more of here from here forward, I'm going back to my staple wardrobe colors. When I started knitting, I started adding colors to my wardrobe that I never really wore before. My wardrobe staples are black, white, and denim. If I'm out shopping and I'm buying something, it's either going to be black, some shade of white, some shade of black, or denim. So I am going back to that because I feel like I'm going to get more wear out of those colors in my wardrobe. So when I was at my mother's, they do not have a local yarn shop, and I needed some more yarn. So I went on to Amazon and found this yarn. It is by a brand called Lotus Yarns, and the name of the base that I got is called Autumn Wind, and it is a cotton cashmere yarn, and it is divine. I highly recommend it. I cannot wait to wear this, and I cannot wait to show you. So, Party of 8, solid black. See if I can shake the wrinkles out. I had it folded. Okay, let me move these back over here. And, oh, I love it. It is scrumptious. Okay, so I made the size medium. Once again, my gauge is tighter. I think I got 24 stitches and the pattern calls for 22. So I made the medium and I got a finished chest size of 36 inches. The side length is 13 inches, which I believe is what the pattern, I believe that's how I have it written in the pattern. My sleeve length on this is 4 1/4, so I went a little bit longer like that one. And I used 5 skeins, and this is what I have left over from 5 skeins. I'm going to show you the yarn band in just a minute. So basically 4 1/2 skeins. This yarn is amazing. Wait till I tell you all about it. Okay, so Lotus Yarn is the yarn brand. Autumn Wind is the yarn base, and then the colorway is black. It is 90% cotton, 10% cashmere, and it comes with 160 meters per 50 grams, which I think is 175 yards. So for 100 grams, you're looking at about 350 yards. So it's really more like a sport. I should have been able to get the 22 stitch gauge without issue, which is what the pattern calls for. But for whatever reason, I liked the fabric that I was getting with 24 stitches, and this is just, you'll probably see me in this one next time. I love it. So that is my party of 8. And I used US needle 3, which I believe is a 3.25 millimeter. I don't know why I didn't write that down. I think it's a 3.25, if I'm not mistaken, millimeter. Okay, so this yarn, real quick, bought it off of Amazon, and it came in a pack of 5. I think you can get them individual too, but I knew I needed 5. So I bought a bag of 5 for $25. It may have been like 25 and change. I think it was 25 and change, like right at $26 for 5 50-gram skeins of cotton cashmere, and it is divine. I highly recommend you checking that yarn out. I will be getting more. Oh, I said I got colorway black. I did not. I got colorway charcoal, color number 23. And the reason I know that is I am going to go back and get the pure black. And then they also have a darker gray. The charcoal to me is almost black. It has a little bit of white flecks to it, whereas the black is just a solid black. But the this one had a few little flecks of white in it. And then the other colorway that I wanted to get, they actually have a few colors that I want that are not currently on Amazon. I'm hoping they will eventually get them, but I went to Lotus Yarn's website. You can't order directly from there. Otherwise, I would have just ordered all of the colors from there. But anyway, yeah, that is definitely a yarn company I would recommend without hesitation. So that is that, and I need a sip of my drink. Hold please. My adorable mug. Everybody has to show off their mugs, right? We love mugs. Okay, that is it for FOs, and oh no, that is not it for FOs. That is it for garment FOs. Okay, so two projects actually that I did, I'm not going to be showing. Maybe I'll pop a picture up. Before I was going out of town, I wanted a big project bag that I could that I could carry on to the airplane. And so I made up this big crocheted round bottom tote, and I used 5 different yarns held together. I'll see if I can pop a picture up of it. I ended up not using it because it ended up being a little bigger than I had anticipated, and I packed for a month stay in a carry-on backpack. So I was carrying my backpack and I was carrying my carry-on, that goes under the seat. And so I was trying to take as little as humanly possible. So anyway, ended up not using that, but I am using it to store projects in. Enjoying that. And then while I was at my mother's, I am not much of a crocheter. I don't feel like I'm a very proficient crocheter, but as a young adult, many years ago, I did crochet some sweaters for my firstborn and crochet blankets and things like that. So I do know how to crochet, but when it comes to bags and things, I just didn't feel like I had what it takes to really do it and do it well. Well, at my mother's, I decided I'm gonna crochet. I was in a crochet mood. And I had just finished crocheting that big, huge tote, and I had so much fun with it. So I went to Hobby Lobby because, again, there were no yarn stores. And I picked up some cotton, and I knit up a little tiny handbag. I like really tiny pocketbooks, handbags, whatever, because all I have is a wallet and my phone and my keys. So I don't need anything really big. And so I crocheted this up. I do have a picture of that, and I will pop that up. And it was really cute, but it really wasn't exactly what I was looking for. It still didn't have that polish to it that I was hoping to get for a bag. Oh, and that said, the reason I was doing these is when I packed, I literally did not even pack a pocketbook. So I was like, oh, I'll make me one to use while I'm here. So I was on Pinterest and came across a picture of a bag, and I'll pop that picture up, and I just fell in love with it. It was just so stinking cute, and I could tell by looking at the picture exactly what was done. So I decided to take that picture and run with it. And my first bag off of that picture, I made this, and oh my goodness, it is just so cute. You'll have to excuse if it has hairs because I was using this. So basically what I did was I I chained 50 single, is it called? See, I told you I'm not really a crocheter. So I chained 50 plus 1 for turning, okay? And so from there, what I did was did a slip stitch, not in the first chain because that's my turning chain. So in the second chain, moving forward, I did 12 slip stitches through the back loop only. And then I single crocheted through the back loop only the remaining, what is that, 38? Yeah, 38 stitches. And then I turned it and I single crocheted through the back loop only in the 38 stitches, and then I slip stitched through the back loop only the last 12, and of course I chain 1 on each end. So I did that until I got double the width that I wanted, and then I sewed, and I'll have to see which side I sewed. I think it's this one. No, it's this one. No? Yes, okay. So I seamed it invisibly, obviously, because I couldn't tell which one. So from the top, I finished at the top, and I seamed it with the tail, and then seamed the bottom, and then turned it right side out. So anyway, I am actually going to do a video of how I made this. So if all of that went over your head and you want to make one of these, don't worry. I am going to be doing a tutorial video because I think it turned out so cute. Then for the strap, what I did was I chained 100 plus 1 for turning, and then I single crocheted through the back loop only, both rows back and forth 9 times, and then sewed the straps to the top portion of the bag, and then I just added a little accessory. And I bought fabric to go back and line the insides. I was just going to do that when I got home, but I've been using them without a liner and they really don't need it. This I made out of yarn from Hobby Lobby, and this was the Yarn ID, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put a picture up of the yarn, and this was colorway Bonnie Lass, if I'm not mistaken. And one skein did the entire bag and had plenty left over. Okay, so I did that one. And then this is the one that I've used the most. It probably needs a good washing already, but I did want to show it, and you're not gonna be shocked, it's blue. But I've used this one to death. So this is the blue one. Same yarn, but in the colorway, not blueberry. I can't remember. Speaking of blueberry, I'm drinking a blueberry tea and it is so good. And I can smell the blueberries. Okay, so that, and then I bought a little silk ascot off of Amazon and just tied that on for a little accessory. And I am enjoying these bags. They are so, I don't normally wear shoulder bags. I normally do handbags and just wear them on my arm because the shoulder bags just hurt my shoulders so much. With this little strap, it is so comfortable. Now I know the one that I was inspired by has the leather straps on it. And I do have the leather straps, but I really wanted something soft. So I went with a handmade strap. Okay, and then the last one that I made, I did in a nice hot pink, because everybody needs hot pink for the summer. And a cute little bow on the end of that one. All of these are made exactly the same. The yarn I used for this one is Yarn Bee. It's the low pill fiber one. I can't remember what it's called. I'll pop it up here as well. So anyway, now that is it for my FOs. I will get into whips next. Give me just a moment to rearrange everything. Okay, so again, while I was at my mother's, I needed another project. I took enough yarn, but once I finished the projects that I was already working on, I wasn't inspired by the yarn that I took with me. So, and unfortunately, there was not a local yarn shop. So I had to shop Hobby Lobby, and which I don't mind. But they just really didn't have what I was looking for, but I settled for. So there is a pattern by Knitting for Olive called the Fern Tee, and I'll pop a picture up of it. And it's one of the, I'm not a lace person. I love knitting lace, certain laces. If it's a very easy to read lace pattern, I thoroughly enjoy knitting it. If it is complicated, I don't do complicated. I like for things to be, this is my happy place knitting, and I don't want to be frustrated while knitting. So anyway, it calls for Knitting for Olive yarn, and I had pretty much already used up all the Knitting for Olive yarn that I had taken with me. So I went to Hobby Lobby in hopes of finding something, and this, I think it's more like a sport yarn. Yeah, it's 312 yards per 4 ounces. So yeah, it's definitely, could even qualify as a DK, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, it says 24 stitches per 4 inches. So, you know, you could get a fingering weight gauge. Long story short, I didn't get fingering weight gauge, but I do love the feel of this yarn. So I made up the fern tee. What I really wanted in my heart was a solid black, because I just think this fern tee in solid black would be to die for. But I ended up with Yarn Bee's Yarntopia in the colorway Sage, and it is gorgeous. It is very cool to the touch, which I think for me here in the desert would be really nice. It feels like bamboo. And they do have a bamboo yarn at Hobby Lobby, which is what I was hoping to get, but it was more of a worsted weight, and I knew that that wouldn't work. So I ended up getting this, and it's actually 100% acrylic, but it does feel like bamboo. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. It at least entertained me. So this is what I ended up with. And I did make modifications because it wouldn't be me if I didn't. It calls for a I-cord neckband. So you start off with, you cast on all your stitches, you work an I-cord, then you join in the round and start your stitch pattern. I noticed on all the people's project pictures that the neck opening was quite large. Did not want that. And I already knew that this yarn was going to be larger, give me a larger gauge. So I decided to rework it. And I'm trying to think of how best to, I will put notes on a Ravelry project page for you, but basically what I did was cast on 100 stitches, and then I knit a couple of rounds, and then every second stitch I would increase one. So okay, let me back up. I did a German-tail cast on, joined in the round, knit 3 rounds if I'm not mistaken. I've got all my notes written down, and then increased and then knit another round. So once I increased, I went from 100 stitches to 150 stitches, which is still not enough to go into the stitch pattern where the pattern starts you. This is the fern stitch pattern. You can look it up on YouTube. So the fern stitch pattern starts off at 7 stitches per section. And I think for my size, it was 29 sections. I reconfigured everything and ended up with 30 sections, and my first section of fern stitch was going to have 5 stitches per section. Okay, so I did one section of fern stitch with 5 stitches, and then I did my increase round, slightly different than what it calls for, because she calls for the designer Patricia, I'll put her name up here, has you do make one right and make one left, and instead I did yarn overs. So I did my increases 1 row prior to what she calls for, so that I could knit them through the back loop on the following row. Then I moved into the pattern basically as written. Long story short, I think I'm gonna have to do some adjustments on this. And my second skein of yarn had a lot of knots in it, which with lace is not the best. And as silky as this yarn is, it's not going to be the best. All of that to say, I think I'm just going to frock this one. I do love the yarn, and I would like to use it on something, but I think I'm going to use it on a different pattern because of all of the knots that was in the second skein. I don't want it to be a lace pattern where I'm going to struggle hiding in the weaving of the ends. So I got all the way to the bottom, and then I finished off, once again, she finishes off with an I-cord. I finished off with just knit stitches, and I did an Icelandic bind off. And then I've got plenty of yarn left to do the sleeves, but this ended up being a lot looser. And then this ended up being a little tighter. So the proportions aren't quite right. I think, well, I'll show you in a minute. I'm redoing it in a black fingering yarn, and I think everything's going to work out better this time, fingers crossed. So that is whip number 1 that I think is going to end up being frogged and turned into something else. It is a very fun knit, I will say that. I am very much enjoying the lace knitting. It is just a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy it. So, my second attempt at it, I got home and dyed up some black yarn. I had some bare fingering yarn, and it is an alpaca nylon blend. It's actually a sock yarn. Oh, it is so soft. I'm obsessed with this yarn. So, cast on again, and let me untangle things. I'm not very far into it. I think I'm getting ready to do section 1, section 2. I'm just getting ready to start section 3. But let me see if I can find an area where I can kind of pull it open, and hopefully you can see. I am really going to love this. Not only is the yarn divine, it's divine to work with. The pattern is just so much fun to make, and I think the end result is going to be really, really nice. I am going to do 2 more sections. I think I'm going to do all of the yoke increases and then put it on barber cords and block it. I want to see how it all blocks out before I move forward. And then that way I can get a good, accurate measurement so that I know exactly where my chest, how many sections I need for the chest measurements. So all of that to say, I swatch, but my swatches tend to not be very truthful. I swatched the green one. It ended up not being very truthful. So on this one, I think I'm going to do the yoke, block it, and get a true idea of where my gauge is before moving forward, because I really, really, really do like this pattern, and I really do see this being something that I will wear year round. I think in the winter time, it is going to be super cute with a long sleeve shirt underneath. You know, I'm going to do it short sleeve / half sleeve. I'm not sure yet. But I think with the white shirt coming out underneath or a white shirt rolled up, I think it's going to be really, really pretty. And then I want to do it long enough to where I can do a little French tuck. I am considering doing a ribbed hem and cuffs, but I haven't totally decided on that yet. So this is the yarn dyed up, And this is a base that I got off of Knit Picks, and they don't carry this anymore, so I'm super, super sad. It was called Eco Sock, I think. Anyway, it is so, and it has, I don't know if you'll be able to see, it definitely has a lot of long hairs. See if you can see it off the actual garment. There are long hairs. So it has a halo, but it's not like a mohair halo. It is a little bit, but not a lot. Anyway, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So thoroughly enjoying that project. Okay, my last whip. I don't normally have this many whips, but technically I only have 2, not accounting for the ones that are in timeout. But I couldn't resist. I had Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the colorway, I believe it's called, let me see, Ink. Of course I can't see without my glasses. It is Slate, colorway Slate. And Knitting for Olive, Cotton Merino. Okay. So I had used this yarn previously on a camisole number 9, and things weren't going quite the way I wanted them to. So I ripped it out, and I had planned on making the camisole number 9 with it again, redoing it. But then when I fell in love with the anchor tee, couldn't resist casting on another one in solid black, because solid black is just going to get so much use in my wardrobe. I do wish this were more of a true black. It's more of a gray black. But I think it's black enough. So yeah, cast on another one. I am going into section number 4. And there are 5 sections to the ribbing for the yoke increases, and then I'll move on into the raglan, and this should be done. Both of those should be done by my next podcast. If not, there's something bad wrong. Okay, that is it for FOs. I am now going to move into future cast-ons, and some of them are not that far off. So give me a moment. All right, future cast-ons. So there is a pattern, and I'm not sure how to say it. It's by Petite Knit, and it's Amelie, I'm not sure. So anyway, I'll pop that up here, and I am getting ready to cast that one on next. And I think I may go ahead. I can't remember. I had to order some more needles because I'm doing a lot of fingering, light fingering projects. And I'm using a lot of US 2.5 3mm needles, so I had to order some more, and if those come in today, then I will be casting that on today. If not, it may be tomorrow, but haven't quite decided what yarn I'm going to use anyway. Maybe you guys can help. I ordered, nope, that's not, this is it, sorry. Okay. I had ordered a while back some Drops Belle, which I believe is a cotton linen. Let's see. Cotton viscose linen. So it's probably very similar to Senna's Garn Line. 10 line, I would think. Maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, sounds like similar content. This is, I'm sure I can get, oh, maybe I can't. I'll have to try this and see. I may not even be able to get gauge. But anyway, when I ordered these, I didn't order quite enough. I had planned on doing one thing with it, changed my mind, and so now there's not enough. I think I ordered 4 of each of these, and I really need 5. So anyway, I'm thinking about doing the Emily top in this. It's a striped pattern, and I'm either going to do it in this if I can get gauge, or if not, I've had this in my stash for years, and this is Knit Picks palette in cobblestone, and I'm pretty sure this is white. Cream, sorry. So palette is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool. I will definitely be able to get gauge with this without issue, so this may end up being what I go with. But I think that would be a really pretty striped t-shirt, and I can wear this fall, winter, here in the valley without any issue, and I have more than enough yarn to do that. Could possibly even make a long sleeve sweater, since it is Peruvian Highland wool, but I'm thinking with the weight of it, I should be okay for a fall, short-sleeved fall sweater, and then in the winter I could just wear it with a cardigan over it. But I would love to make a summer version. I actually have some hobby yarn, the cotton, I think it's 8.4 or 8.2, I can't remember. I think it's 8.4. Can't remember what it's called. I don't think I have that in black and white though, and I'd really like a black and white striped, or black and some color of white. So anyway, we'll see. I'm definitely casting that on next though, and I also definitely want to do the Umbria top. I'll pop a picture up of that. That I could probably do out of the Bell, but I don't think I have enough. I'd have to order some more, which I don't mind. And having one of those in black solid and white solid, that would be awesome. Okay, I do love my Party of 8 pattern in solid so much that I ordered some drops saffron to make 4 more of the, well, actually 3 more, because I ordered 1 black and I already have it in the black. So I'm going to do something else, but I think I needed 1 more. I don't remember what the deal was, why I added the black color, but I guess just to have black. So anyway, something will be made of this, and then I'm hoping to get a Party of 8 in, I'm obsessed with this color. This is Saffron in colorway Chalk, and sorry, colorway Chalk. I love this color so much. I know they have this color across several of their yarn bases, and I see more of this color in different bases in my near future. And then I got solid white, so I think that would make a really nice Party of 8. And then this is color Desert Rose, maybe? What was this? It's color 56. It wasn't Desert Rose. Hold on, let me look. I think I've got that. And of course, I don't have the color name. Got a picture of it, that's it. Trying to see if I had a note of it anywhere else. I don't think so. Okay, I don't remember the name of this, but I'll pop it up on the screen. But it's color 56. So I thought that would be a really pretty one as well. And then, like I said, I got it, oops, sorry. I got it in black. Not sure what I'm going to do this out, make this up, what pattern I'm going to use this for yet, but I'll come up with something. So, I think that's it. I know this was a little bit longer, but again, I did have a lot to go over today, and I am so excited to be back at doing my podcast. I missed doing this last month, though if you haven't seen already, I did post shortly before leaving a video about a lot of summer tea knitting patterns, and I had planned on doing one for tank tops as well, but as late as we are into the year, I may save and just do that one next year. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, that's it for today. I appreciate you so much hanging out with me. And if you have made it to the end, thank you so much. I would love to have you, once again, if you haven't already, like this video, give it a thumbs up, and leave me a comment and let me know that you stopped by. You could just say hi. And I hope to be back in about 2 weeks. I really hope your summer is off to a fantastic start and that you have some amazing plans for your summer. And I will see you again soon.